Good day! For today's lesson, we will be dealing with one of the vital components for organization and business firms that sell products or render services. I am Teacher Bless, and join me as we go through our lesson on Markdown, Markup, and Mark-on. To have profit or acceptable markup is an objective for profit-oriented organizations. And as we go through our lesson, you will be able to differentiate between mark-on, markup, and markdown, and on how to obtain this given the price of the product.
Let us start our discussion with the selling price. The selling price is the price at which the commodity is sold per unit. It must be set such that it will ensure recovery of costs and generation of a satisfactory or acceptable amount of markup or profit. So based from those definitions, we have here the formula for the selling price, which is cost plus markup. So what is the cost? It is the amount of cash sacrificed for goods and/or services that are expected to bring a current or future benefit to the organization. In other words, cost refers to the purchase price of an article. Now we move on to markup, which is the difference between the selling price and cost price, or it is the amount added to cost to arrive at the original selling price. So we have here the formula, selling price minus cost price. Or it could also be expenses plus profits. Now let's have an example. Bernardina would like to sell biscuits she purchased from a grocery store for 12 pesos each. If the total expenses are set at 25% of the cost, and she would like to have a 15% profit on the cost of each item, determine the markup price for each biscuit and help Bernardina determine the selling price for each biscuit. So based from this problem, we know that there are two formulas for markup. One, which is the selling price minus the cost, and the other, the expenses plus profit. Now in this problem, the selling price is not given, but we know that there are words, expenses, and profit that we can actually use in our formula. So based from that, we will make use of the formula expenses plus profit. For the expenses, it says here 0.25 or 25% of the cost plus the 15% of the cost for the profit to give us 3 plus 1.80. And that would give us a markup of 4 pesos and 80 cents. Now, what would be the selling price using the formula cost plus markup? The cost is at 12 pesos plus the computed markup of 4 pesos and 80 cents to give us a selling price of 16 pesos and 80 cents. To determine the markup rate, we have the formula based on cost, markup over cost times 100%. Or it could also be based on the selling price, which is markup over selling price times 100%. So we already know the markup since we computed for it, and we know the cost based from the problem. So we use the formula markup over cost times 100%. The computed markup is 4 pesos and 80 cents over the cost of 12 pesos times 100%. So we have here 0.4 times 100%, which gives us a markup rate of 40%. That is based on cost. But we can also use the formula markup over the selling price times 100%. That is because we already computed for the selling price and the markup. The markup is 4 pesos and 80 cents divided by the selling price of 16 pesos and 80 cents times 100%. 4.80 divided by 16.80 will give us 0.28571 times 100%. And now we have the markup rate at 28.57%. That is based on the selling price.
One of the strategies used by business establishments to encourage their customers to patronize their product is for them to go on sale, or to reduce the selling price, or to offer a discounted price. It is what we sometimes anticipate during Lazada and Shopee sale. The concept of markdown refers to the reduction of the selling price, or it is the difference between the selling price and the sale price.
For markdown, the formula is selling price minus the sale price. And to determine the markdown rate, we have the formula 1 minus the sale price or reduced selling price over the original selling price. Or we can also use the formula markdown over the sale price or reduced selling price times 100%. So assuming that due to the presence of competitor, the demand of biscuits of Bernardina has decreased, so she decided to reduce the selling price of her biscuits from 16 pesos and 80 cents to 14 pesos. So, the 14 pesos is the sale price or the reduced selling price. Let us compute how much is the markdown and the markdown rate. Computing the markdown, we have from the problem the selling price of 16 pesos and 80 cents minus the sale price of 14 pesos to give us a markdown of 2 pesos and 80 cents. Now to compute for the markdown rate, we use the formula markdown over the sale price times 100%. The computed markdown is 2 pesos and 80 cents over the sale price of 14 pesos times 100% to give us 0.2 times 100%. Therefore, the markdown rate is 20%.
Mark-on usually happens during peak seasons, when the demand for a certain product is high. It is when the selling price of a certain product increases after an increase.
Let's assume that now is Christmas season, and there is a high demand of biscuits. Bernardina wants to take advantage of this peak season, so she increases the price of her biscuits from 16 pesos and 80 cents to 18 pesos. How much is the mark-on? We will now make use of the mark-on formula, which is peak selling price minus the regular selling price. So from the problem, we have the peak selling price as 18 pesos minus the regular selling price, which is 16 pesos and 80 cents, to come up with a mark-on of 1 peso and 20 cents.
Let us have a quick review of the concepts that we discussed. Selling price is the price at which the commodity is sold per unit. Cost refers to the purchase price of the product. Markup is the difference between the selling price and the cost. Markdown is the difference between the sale price and the selling price. And mark-on is the difference between the peak selling price and the regular selling price. There you have it. As consumers and future entrepreneurs, these concepts are necessary for us to survive in the world of business. I hope that you learned a lot for you to answer the assessment. Goodbye!